that brings me back to the question of mind mapping, because in today's world, people have a very different mindset. I was about to use the word weird, but I thought, in the context of keeping it more formal and social, we would say that, people have a different mindset. Like, nobody is happy with themselves or others. Like, people are very critical of everything. Like you said, for example, the thin book. So, some people may be very happy that, okay, we'll get done with a few pages and we'll have all the knowledge of the world. And then there are people who would think, this is not good enough. Why should I spend this much for a slim book like this? So what do you have to suggest in that context? How to not swing your mind between extremes and kind of balance it out? Do you have a formula?
I think we are living at a time where we can do a lot at a very low cost. So you have plenty of apps which can help you. You can... people tend to let the mobile phone use you, but you can use the mobile phone.
Wow.
So for example, if you had a normal landline,
right,
you didn't have a silent button on it.
Right.
Right. So if you had a landline, you had to pick up the line because you had no clue who was calling and how urgent it was.
Yes.
Now you can say, okay, for the next 2 hours, I don't want to be disturbed, and you can just switch off your phone.
Right.
So I think if a person is smart, he would be able to have a much better time on this planet in terms of control of his life than in the past.
Right.
So I am constantly surprised as to why more people are not using technology in their favor. It's totally weird. So maybe they need to attend more seminars.
Yeah, and detox from the technology-driven lifestyle they are having, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Or use technology in a better way.
Right.
You have if somebody wants to send you a message, he can send you a message even though your phone is off.
Right.
And then you access it when you're free, and then you send it, and he then reads it when he's free.
Right.
And that's fantastic, right? That's like ideal.
Yeah, and it's more productive that way instead of you're working on something and you're going back to something. So that brings me back to the question of multitasking. In today's world, people take a lot of pride in saying that I multitask because I'm doing this, I'm driving the car, I'm listening to somebody's conversation, I'm giving directions to somebody else, I'm feeding the baby, I'm doing it all. So do you think over there the mind gets a little cluttered and scattered over a lot of things and the productivity goes down, or do you think that's the way of life? What is your opinion?
Oh, that's definitely not the way of life. In fact, multitasking doesn't work according to science. You just cannot multitask.
Right. I did read it, but I wanted to check with an expert like you on that.
So, multitasking, the technical definition of multitasking is doing more than one thing at one time that requires conscious attention.
Okay.
So I may be crossing a busy road and trying to avoid the traffic and trying to save my life.
Right.
And I may be talking on the mobile phone.
I'm guilty of that sometimes.
Okay. So if it's an important conversation and I am talking consciously and I am trying to avoid the traffic consciously, then it's an attempt to multitask. You cannot multitask. You cannot have conscious attention. But you're attempting to multitask. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is that there's not really too much traffic. You're focusing only on the mobile phone. So then it appears to be multitasking, but it's not, because your crossing is virtually subconscious because it's a safe pathway. And the third scenario is that it's a difficult road to cross. You're really consciously walking across the road and you're not paying attention to the mobile conversation. So again, that's not multitasking. So it's about how you do something rather than what you're doing. It's how you do it that's more important. And plenty of people look at somebody who appears to multitask. Let's say I had a boss who was absolutely brilliant, who was probably the greatest corporate finance wizard on the planet. And in corporate finance, when companies are borrowing hundreds of crores for a few weeks, you get a decimal place wrong. Instead of 0.01%, you make it 0.001% or 0.02%. The company is bankrupt, right? I mean, that's a kind of attention to detail that's involved. And he could talk to 5 people virtually at a time. Not at a time, but it would appear that he's talking to them at one time. It would appear to be that he's multitasking.
Right.
So you would speak to one person, and then speak to the other person, and then speak to the third person, and then come back to the first person and start exactly where he's left off, and remember everything about the conversation he had with the first guy, and the first guy's forgotten.
Wow.
The first guy's just speaking with him. This guy's speaking to 5 guys,
Right.
and he remembers everything about each and everything he's discussed with each and every person. So, I mean, he's an incredible brain. At the same time, that's not multitasking, because at one time, he's focusing only on one thing.
Right.
At the same time, that's also not recommended because he's switching tasks.
Okay.
And you should not switch tasks too often.
What would that mean? Like switching
Because he's speaking to one person about one subject, then he's speaking to another person about another subject.
Okay.
And he's speaking to a third person about another subject, and he's
Right.
switching back.
Oh, okay.
Ideally, he can handle it. At the same time, even it's not recommended that he should have done that or he should do it, because every time you switch, you're consuming a huge amount of energy.
Okay.
Then whatever we eat gets changed to glucose.
Right.
And glucose is the source of your physical energy as well as your mental energy.
Right.
And the brain consumes about 25%
Okay.
of the body's energy. 25%. That's like massive.
Yes.
So you are like a mobile battery when you wake up. You got these 4 bars. And those bars are reducing.
Right.
Okay, it doesn't matter if you're Elon Musk, you could be Bill Gates, you could be Steve Wozniak.
Right.
It doesn't matter. You are going to reduce in terms of the energy that you have to use for the rest of the day as the day goes now.
Right.
So how do you conserve the energy? One of the things that really spends a lot of that energy is switching between tasks.
Okay.
So that's one reason why you should not ideally do switching between tasks. And the other thing is this kind of switching it causes bad stress.
Oh, okay.
So then
which drains you out. Like, you know how people have this feeling that I'm feeling so drained out. I mean, even in the best of setups, you are feeling physically exhausted, mentally burnt out. Like burnt out is another example. Yes.
Absolutely. And it destroys brain cells.
Right.
And if it destroys critical brain cells, then you could end up with dementia, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's.
Right. Even depression is such a reality in today's world, you know, and it's across age groups.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you would suggest that, you know, you should finish the work on hand that you are having right now and then move on to the next one.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's difficult to do.
Yeah.
But then,
or you would rather line up your tasks, like, you know, I'm going to finish the coffee and then move on to the work desk and then move on to the phone call and then move on to something else? Like, you mean focusing completely on what you're doing, like living in the moment? That's how even the mystics have been saying. So
true. Yeah.
Yes.
But one of the best ways to do that is through a system called GTD, or Getting Things Done.
Oh wow, that sounds so cool. GTD. Okay.
Because most mindfulness classes are a sham.
Okay.
Right?
You're too humble to say that. Oh my god. I've seen all your TEDx talks. You're so humble to, you know, kind of make it sound so simple. But you're one of the scholarly people I've ever met. So yes.
Thank you. I'm very diplomatic, as you can see. So.
Yes, you are.
So GTD is about getting things off your mind on an external source. Like a piece of paper. Like that's why I have this piece of paper. Everything that I want to talk to you about is on this piece of paper. I don't have anything on my mind.
You mean journaling in a way?
Journaling
like a pen and paper old school style of journaling or writing a diary. I mean, is that what I'm understanding correctly?
That's part of it, but it's like a brain dump.
Oh,
like you think of something, and now if you don't put it out there somewhere, if you don't put it in a Google Calendar, or you don't put it in Evernote, or you don't put it on a piece of paper, which you know you're going to access later on.
Right.
Okay, it's a trusted bucket.
Okay.
Then your mind is going to continuously remind you that you got to do that task.
Okay.
Which is very, very distracting. So if you just realize today, right now, that you got to say call somebody tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
The best thing to do would be to stop talking right now, write it down here, and then carry on this conversation. So right now, I have absolutely nothing else on my mind.
Okay.
Other than what I'm speaking to you, and you've seen I've literally consumed the entire chart paper, dumping my thoughts.
Oh, nice.
So that and plenty of other strategies. It's a real practical a systematic, scientifically designed structure. It's not just about telling you. It's not about motivating you
Right.
to empty your